Okay, thought it was supposed to have menu music, but I might have done something wrong there. Well, I can't hear the game. Yeah, there we go. Okay, okay. So let's just do a little playthrough of Kerbal Space Program, mainly for the benefit of Bonzi, and just gonna show you quickly what the game's about, what you can do in it, and why I think it's so kind of cool. I know Kerbal Space Program's been around on PC for a long time, but it just recently came out on PS4, and I think it does quite well in terms of all the physics and stuff you can use. So as you can see, our little space things, basically like Kennedy Space Center type thing, and in here, in the big, I can't remember what it's called now, spacecraft sort of building facility. This is where you can build your spaceships and stuff. You can literally make all kinds of things. I mean, if you look at the menu, I haven't played this game for a while, I have to remember how to do it. You've got all these different features on the left, all the different parts that you can build, and you can literally build anything sort of as big or as small as you want. Don't let the little green men fool you. The Kerbals, they make the game look kind of cartoony, but the physics of the game, I think, are actually really cool. Of all of the spacecraft I've got on here, most of them are sort of pre-made, so you can actually use pre-made ones. You don't have to spend like hours and hours making your own ones, and you can just go flying. I have spent quite a lot of hours making these. Like these Widowmaker ones, the ones that I built. I can't even remember which others I made. I made quite a few, but there's loads. Goliath was my one. Bounty Hunter, I think, was my one. Oh, Widowmaker one. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to try. Can't remember which ones are good for orbiting. Kerbal one's probably Kerbal 1.5. I'm not going to do any sort of building at the moment as such. I'm going to try. I think this one might work. This is really sort of simple, basic. Actually, I'm not going to use this. This is too basic. Let's use something that's vaguely cool. I can't remember all the controls now. Man, that's tiny. Huh. So, I mean, this is a good example of a thing you can make. This is a sort of a standard, just like a little spaceship, little rocket here that you can build. You build all kinds of stages in it, from sort of from top to bottom. I think traditionally it's kind of, well, for me, it was, I wanted to start with the engines at the bottom and build up and up and up. But when you look on the kind of the tutorials and stuff, there's some good tutorials on there that show you how to do this stuff. But on the tutorials, they tell you to build like the command piece first, and then kind of build down away from it. So this is like a pre-built one, and everything has an effect on it. You know, the amount of fuel, the amount of power that you're putting out to get out into orbit, the fins for control and for balance. This little thing here is like a payload thing. This is our little satellite in here that's going to be launched, and it's in like a I can't remember what to call it, like a housing that you can deploy. That's why it just kind of explodes when you hover over it, so you can see what's inside. But the actual casing of it, the payload, is kind of going to be protected while you travel through the atmosphere. I don't really want to go into too much detail about it, because there is a lot of detail to the game, and you can build things as complex as you want, or as, well, sort of simple as you want. But it's fun just experimenting and trying out different things, and it's good. I think it's good in a lot of ways, because it helps teach you about general astrophysics kind of things as well. I mean, it's not obviously going to be exactly the same as what you find in the real world, but I think it replicates it quite well, and a lot of the basics are fairly similar, so you can kind of pick up a lot of things about what kind of works, what doesn't work. To give an example of the kind of detail you need to take account of in this game, I'll just show you actually. So you get a couple of different overlays that you can use. This is the center of mass overlay. It shows you where the center of mass for your spaceship is. So obviously if it's not in the middle, it will, as soon as you try to take off, it will fly off in circles and just explode. If it's too far up, for example, obviously it won't be very easy to control, and if it's too far to the bottom, it might not sort of take off properly, depending on how much power you got for it. But this helps you show the center of mass where the aircraft is. You've also got the center of thrust, so it shows you where all of the thrusters come from, and obviously you kind of want it in line almost, depending on what you make. I mean, a lot of people go for I say a lot of people. I started off trying to make something with like 16 engines on it or something, and until you know the basics, it doesn't necessarily help to start with 16 engines. But if you start with one engine and you've got a fairly easy looking or simple rocket that's kind of one body, and you can see the center of thrust is pointing directly kind of opposite to where the center of mass is going to be, so that's going to help it balance. And also you've got the aerodynamic overlay, so again this shows you where the aerodynamic properties are. Now this, because it's got a lot of fins on it, you can see that it's got presumably, I don't know if it's because of the thing it's attached to at the moment, might well be, but when the rocket takes off, I mean, because this is a pre-built one, you know that it's going to work. Basically, it's going to be stable, and they've set the 3 fins up. You can see from the top that they've set the 3 fins up in an equal distance from each other around the center mass of the center body of the spacecraft. So you know it's kind of going to be stable. But those are the sort of things that you can look at anyway. I'll turn those off as you're building. I'm probably going to do another video anyway, just building, because I spend hours and hours building spacecraft that then don't work. But I'll try this one and see if I can get this little satellite to orbit the planet. Obviously going up and shooting aircraft into space is all well and good, and when you get out of the atmosphere it's actually pretty cool. And even if you get one that kind of goes out of the atmosphere, then you run out of fuel, and then it kind of eventually runs out of power, and Earth's gravity brings it back, and it kind of comes back into the atmosphere and crash lands somewhere. It's still quite fun to do that, but when I first got the game, although I knew what the game was about, I didn't really, because I thought it's a console version, I thought it might be slightly different. I didn't really appreciate how much the game offers and how much you can actually do in the game. So in terms of ambition, you can go, you can do a lot of things. Getting out of the atmosphere is one thing, orbiting the planet is one thing, but this planet's got 2 moons which you can visit. You can orbit them, land on them. It's also got an entire solar system, so it's got a sun, the sun that's out there at the moment. The planet rotates around the sun, and the planet spins on its axis as well, so you get proper day-night cycle, and you get a proper like annual cycle as well. And then there's some other planets in the solar system as well. I'm not quite sure how many, maybe 5 or 6, which I can look at later. But yeah, you can go to them as well. And obviously you could, I suppose, do it in real time, but it would take months or more to get to those planets. But it's got a quite a cool time lapse feature where you can kind of speed up time as you like, and then go and sort of, for example, if it took, I don't know, months to travel to a planet, you could kind of speed it up so that you can sort of get there a little quicker. Right, there's stages. You can control different stages of the rockets. It's not, when you get into space, you will use sort of monopropellants and things to maneuver. When you're out here, I mean, this has only got one. In fact, this has only got one engine. If I look over the side here, this is the staging stuff that tells you. So basically, you oh, that goes at the same time. That's a bit weird. Yeah, you launch it in stages. So essentially, what it's saying here is the engine will start, and yeah, it is an engine, I think, and the little tower will release at the same time, so it can take off. Then once you get into the out into the atmosphere, you can get rid of the shielding. This one separates the first stage from the second stage, so that you've just got the little bit at the top that you need. And then I think that must be an engine for the satellite. If you had a command console or like a capsule on there for this, because this is just like a satellite rocket, there's no one sat inside it, but if you did have Kerbals, little spacemen, sat inside it, you would also need a command module, like a not lunar lander, but like a command module on top, and that would also need a parachute for when you get back to Earth or whatever, and that's normally the last stage before you hit. So because there's nothing there, you can tell that it's just a very simple satellite. I've not used this rocket before, so I don't know how easy this is going to be. But obviously you get a few things to help you in terms of navigating and controlling. So the nav ball here is really good for helping you kind of keep on track of where the rocket's going and where you need it to go. There's a couple of extra things on here which are typically used by the if you've got astronauts on board, which we don't at the moment. Obviously you got the this is the height in meters and the vertical speed on it, vertical speed indicator, and then this is like a little dial that shows you how far up through the atmosphere you are. There's some other things on here and over here that kind of whoopsie, didn't miss that. It shows you controls. This is just the stage meter showing you what stage you're at. You can go into docking mode, so you can dock with other things in space. That's another thing that I'd love to be able to do at one point, is kind of build a space station in orbit around the planet, and then sort of go up there and add things to it, dock it and stuff. That'd be cool. That's kind of for way far down the line. I mean, you put hundreds or probably thousands of hours into a game like this before you can do something like that properly. I'm not too into kind of the tutorials and stuff. I like to do things myself, but we'll see if I ever get that far without any help. There's some stuff up here that just helps with, so you can, on your satellites and things, you can put science applications, so things that will measure light, heat, radiation, seismic activity, all kinds of different things, temperature, and probably take pictures and I don't know what else. But you need a transmitter on the aircraft, on the spaceship to do that, which this one does have. This shows you that sort of stuff. This is the time warp thing at top here, where you can speed up time, and then you've got the this is the mission timer, so that'll start when I launch. And that's kind of about it for the launch phase. I mean, we'll launch this rocket now and have a quick see if I can do it. I probably will fail. The cursor that I've got on here, I use the cursor a lot on this game, but you can get rid of it, and when you do, the actual left stick does other things. So if you can see in the bottom left hand corner of the screen that yaw and pitch controls are moving, that's because I'm moving the left stick. And the roll, I think, is left and right trigger, so you can actually move the aircraft when you're in flight. And if I can, don't know if I can, you can kind of see it there, moving the control surfaces on the spacecraft. Anyway, so I'm just going to put the throttle to max, and then we're going to launch this and see how it goes. Although I don't envisage it going too well. The sun, which is, can't even see it. It's probably like, oh, there we go. So it's like virtually midday almost. You can also change the timer here, so you can launch like in the morning, at night, or whatever you want. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. So here we go. move that out a little bit. And that is... feels like it's not going vertical enough. Just pull that back. Oh, going up through the atmosphere, you can see the resistance as we go through the atmosphere. It really feels like it's... I'm probably going to leave it and just see if it does this by itself, because it appears like that's what it wants to do. You see how it's arching over and starting to get into a... what is, I presume, a prograde orbit. Oh, really starting to get higher up through the atmosphere now. You can just see here. Once we get up through the exosphere, it will calm down a little bit. You can control how much fuel is in the fuel tanks for these spacecraft, and therefore the weight, and so you can work out. This is about to run out of fuel. You can work out, like, wait, I'll tell you what, this has actually worked out quite well. Wow. Okay, so we're out of fuel and we're slowing down. I'm going to launch the... oh, I've got the orbit music. I'm going to launch the payload now. Whoa, that was quick. Okay, and then presumably decouple, and that was weird as well. Okay, so we are now in, I presume, some form of orbit. Now there's a way... oh man, I can't remember how to do this. Let me think. I think if I go to the... no, is it that one? Aha, here we go. So, what I need to do, if I can remember how to... oh shit. No. Can I put RCS on? RCS is on. Oh, SAS is the one I want. Yeah. Prograde. That's the one. Right. Try and sort this out. So here's where we launched. Here's where we currently are. We're slowing down, so I need to sort this out in a minute. But what we want to do is carry on going up here into this arc, and once we hit the upper past this, or whatever it's called, I can never say that, up here, we should be able to get ourselves into a position where we are in a prograde orbit. The other thing that's worth saying about this game is that it saves all the other stuff you've done. So all this stuff out here, we don't make a free debris. We make free debris as well. I've launched other stuff previously, and it's just flown off into space. This one looks like it's eventually going to come back down here. You can see it'll crash back down into the Earth, and that's one of the moons. I don't know if I can zoom out. So this is the whole solar system. So here's the planet Kerbal, which is essentially like Earth. It's got two moons, a larger one here and a smaller one further out there. If we go out further, you can see Kerbal's orbit around its sun. Now you can see all this debris out here. This is just parts of my spaceships that I've dumped as I've been flying around in the in this part of the system. And I think you can recover them, but I need to probably get rid of them because I've got loads of space debris floating around at the minute. So there's the sun. You've got all these planets. You've got this one, 2, Kerbal's the third one, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 planets. And also, if you look at the little grey elliptical orbit here, that's one of the little pods that I launched a while ago. And there's a little man in there, and he's got no fuel or anything. I don't think I can get him out of the orbit, but he's in an elliptical orbit around the sun basically forever. So sometimes it's fun to just go and see him, see what he's saying. Anyway, in the meantime, go back all the way into our planet. My satellite is still losing speed, so I need to do something about that. You can zoom in, you can see where he is currently. Obviously the blue line's where we took off from. This is where the spaceship is. Is that what I... yeah, so that's the first stage of the rocket booster that I just used. It's fallen back down to Earth now. And if I can... oh god, I can't remember how to do this. Okay. So here's my little satellite thing. I think, I may be wrong, but I think I can just push this off and it will kind of go in the direction I want it to go. It looks like it's already in a prograde orbit. If you can see here on the trackball, it's locked onto the prograde orbit, so I'm hoping it will just do what it needs to do. I don't want to use too much fuel here, but it looks like it's got quite a bit, so as it's doing that, I'm going to quickly check here. What I want it to do is to be going in this direction. Now, that's what it's currently saying I'm doing. Not enough to get me into orbit, I don't think. Yeah. There is a way. I don't know if this has got any. So you can see the fuel here. You can probably dump fuel as well. Or hibernation mode, reaction wheels. Okay. Control from here. Rename vessel. Toggle torque. Curve net access. There's all kinds of different things you can do. I mean, at the moment, I'm just trying to get this thing to orbit the planet. Which, as you can see, I look further away than I am. But I'm hoping this is going to put us into a nice orbit. And in fact, we're using quite a lot of fuel, so I'm just going to turn that off a second. So at the moment, it looks like this blue arc here, essentially, what they say about orbiting is that the orbiting is just basically falling to Earth and missing, which is kind of true. When you play this game after a few sort of hours of playing around with rockets and stuff, you notice that, for example, this white line here, if you're launching from the space station here and you get all the way this far out into away from the planet's gravitational influence is still existing out here, much further than you can see, and much further than you would. Well, obviously much further than you would expect. Obviously, the moons and things are obviously under the Earth's or Kerbal's gravitational influence. But when you take off up here, and let's say you run out of fuel or whatever, and you get to this point, you'll keep moving, obviously, because of the inertia of the initial aircraft, but you'll slow down because there's still the influence of the Earth's gravity. So you get to a point where you kind of get as high as you can get, you slow down, and then you start falling back to Earth because the gravity starts pulling you back towards the planet. Now, that's what these things are doing. You can see this is the curvature of the line of where they've been, and this line shows where they're going to go. So you go up as high as you can, and then you fall back down to Earth. Now, the further you go out, if you go up to, say, here, the arc would come up to here and around, and then you'd fall down again. Or you might fall down around here because the Earth is spinning, and depending on like the exact angle of where you took off. But if you keep going further and further out of the atmosphere, away from the Earth, the arc of where you'll land back on Earth gets bigger, and that's what this is showing here. If I keep going the way I am going now, I will land back on Earth over here, which, if I sped up time up here, that would be exactly what would happen. But I need to get to this line, the apparatus line, I think, or that marker, or at least to a point where I am at whatever height I need to be at to get it. And eventually what happens is this curve gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and eventually it goes outside the Earth. So the gravity of the Earth's influence, or the planet's influence, is trying to pull me back down, but because I've put myself in this arc, you actually go into orbit. It's constantly trying to pull you back into the Earth, but because of the momentum that you've got, you'll never actually get there. You'll just float around forever, unless something else happens. If you obviously get too close to the Earth, the gravity increases, you get pulled down, the orbit decays, and you crash. What was this thing that came up? Oh yeah, this shows all the different things that are around in the system. So I've actually done quite well here. What's that? Oh. Wow, that's going a long way. I'm not sure what these green lines are. I think they might be the data transfer things, because like up here it says I can transmit data. But I have to see about that. Anyway, spaceships looks to be slowing down again a bit. So I will see if I can go a little any further. All the little parts of the ship here that you can select that were built, they do different things. If you kind of press the square button, sometimes you can do things with them. Extend antenna, why not? Wow, there you go. Transmit data, why not? Don't know what that means, but yeah, you can transmit data and you can do all kinds of crazy things. I wondered if it had those little extending solar panel things, which it doesn't seem to have, which is a shame because they're cool. I'm not sure what the hibernation thing does either. What's this? Oh, it's got a thrust limiter on it. That's quite cool. Put the thrust limiter down. That will make our fuel last longer, presumably. All these things you can get rid of if you don't need them. They're quite good to have anyway. So I'll just give it a bit more boost. See if I can get away from the planet enough to get this orbit. I think the orbit marker here, what was the prograde orbit marker, I think it actually pretty much was helping me do that when I was taking off, and I didn't realise. I quite often try and do manual flights, but yeah, with the assistance thing, it can help you lock onto where you need to go, and that'll help you with. Actually, I'll keep that up for a minute. That'll help you with getting further out. Now, obviously, like I say, this is just trying to get into an orbit. If we decide to go to a moon or another planet, which I do want to do one day, you have to build a rocket that's fit for purpose, though. And I don't want to use the pre-made ones. I want to make my own ones and use them. So that's what I'm looking forward to. So I can see the actual. Here we go. So currently, taking off from here, I've gone this far, and it will say that if I just float freely through space now, I'll slow down more and more and more and more and more, and eventually I'll land basically back at where I took off from. But what I want is that line to essentially complete into a circle, which it basically just has. Oh, I've got a trophy. I've done this before though. Oh well. So in effect, as long as this isn't too close, I'm not sure it is. It says I'm an hour and 20. Oh no. This is still in real time as well. So the mission timer up here, 13 minutes. Shows you how far I've been going. I'm just going to give it a little bit more of a burn, just so that this line gets further away from the Earth. And I also seem to get to put it into an elliptical orbit, which I need to at some point. Oops. I need to at some point put it into a normal orbit, and I really don't know whether any of these things do that or not. I need to learn more about the game, to be honest with you. I haven't played it enough. But as you can see, I'm now in such a state that when I turn the power off, in fact, which I'll do now, I'll just follow this blue track, and I will be orbiting this planet presumably forever. It should work, I believe. Whoopsie. How do I move the... Whoop. Anyway, as you can see as well, the sun over here lights up this side of the planet, and obviously the dark side of the planet that's eclipsed by the sun is like the night time. And this does rotate. I think it does rotate in real time, and again it carries on around the sun in its own way. You can actually see if you look closely. I think the moons move as well because obviously they're orbiting the planet. So it all works exactly like it should in in a real or a realistic model of a system. But I'm just going to speed this up a bit and see if we can see my satellite orbiting the planet. Oh, come on, this is mine, right? There we go. I'm going to go up to 1,000. I'll get rid of this a minute. Oh, put me back down to 100. Did I do that? I'm not sure if I did that or not. But as you can see, I'm now in orbit. It won't crash on the planet anymore. It'll just orbit forever. The other cool thing I can do. How do I do it? That one, isn't it? You have to go to 1 times and then back. If it'll let me. No? Ah. I can't get back onto the view now. So anyway, you can, now that's there, I mean I can just leave that there and go on to another project and I could just continue to orbit this planet forever. I want to do some, what are they called? Like orbits that are off the axis. An orbit that kind of goes this direction or on a funny angle. That's for another time. If I go to the, is it tracking center? I think it's the tracking center. This just shows everything that's in the. It shows everything that's in the system. So like, all my other random. So yeah, my spaceship that's just orbiting the sun, and then all my other random bits around here, and they're listed on this side over here. So my ComSat, which is the one I just launched, and as you can see. It tells you so here my guy that's been floating around the sun he's been floating around for 219 days, so he's still in obviously his first pass around the sun. A few things, this has been out there for 7 days, blah blah blah. ComSat's only been out for 3 hours because I spent the time up a bit, and you should be, I can't remember how you do it, but you should be able to just whoops. You click on it, obviously. Right, this will take us back into the kind of the actual view. There we go. There's our little satellite, just calmly orbiting the Earth. And actually, I've still got a little bit of fuel left, so I could, do something else with that at some point. But I think it's really cool just to be able to, hang out and watch your satellite or spaceship or whatever fly around, doing whatever. And I think you can still speed up time while you're here, so you can watch it. And here, look, it just passes the Earth. It slows down to 100 times, probably some sort of anti-collision thing or something or whatever. But yeah, this is now shown at 100 times speed, and I mean, there's nothing really on the actual vessel itself that I can really do anything with apart from that antenna. I can presumably transmit data if there's anything to transmit. Comitron 16 done. I don't even know what data it is transmitting, or if I can see it, or whatever. Can retract the antenna as well. But yeah, this is kind of like just a very basic demonstration of what the game can do. And it's a very small game. It's only about 2.5 gigs or something like that. So it doesn't need a lot of space on the hard drive, but it's got this huge sort of star system to explore. What I'll do is I'll leave this here now, and then whenever I get back to it, I'll go and have another look at it at some point. But the great thing is it's just sat there now. As with in real life in a vacuum space, there wouldn't be anything to stop it doing that. I think that's a little marker there of something that's crashed into the sea possibly. But as you can see, it's night here now as well. And I could, like I said before, you can just speed time up a little bit. Another cool thing about speeding time up as well is these satellites, they track things. I'm not sure what they're tracking, probably the spaceships and stuff like that I've had before, but you can speed them up and they change, and as you can see the Earth rotating as the time moves on. They're actually tracking probably my satellite that I just put out, or various different things keep changing, and something's happened to the stars randomly. Put it back to 1 times. There's the moon up there. And it does. Oh, there's the moon rising, and there's the sunrise. And that's what I love about this as well. You can like just change the time of day, so you can have it that your rocket's launching there at the break of dawn or whatever. So yeah, there's loads more. Oh, yeah, it may have time walked me into this. Anyway, so yeah, that's basically it. You can do a lot of cool stuff with it, like I say, with this game, the science stuff, for example, will show you. So thermometer for basic fluid spectrophotometer, seismic accelerometer, narrowband scanner, blah 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 blah. You can attach all these things, and you can go and scan the moon or something and see what's on there, and do all kinds of sciencey stuff, which I think is great, because I mean, you get that real kind of in-depth aspect of the game. That's what simulators are supposed to be. You're supposed to be able to go into the minute detail, which is what I do like. So you can also build kind of more like aircraft. You noticed on the space station there's a long runway over to the side of the base, and so you can build kind of like more like aircraft type things, and you can also build kind of shuttles and that kind of stuff. But one of the things you can do, in fact I'll show you this now, you can just build stupid rockets, and a lot of mine rockets are very unsuccessful in the grand scheme of things. So the Winner Maker 3 is the one I think I made not too long ago. Yeah, so this has basically got loads of rocket boosters. It's got a big engine in the middle. It's got a few stages. You can see inside here it's got a command module as well and some other bits. And it's actually got the satellite's actually got the extending solar panels as well. That's what I wanted to do, is get that launch that into space. But having launched the one I did just now, a little rocket might actually be the way to go. I just put loads and loads of rocket boosters on it and hoped that like this stupid amount of power would just launch it into the atmosphere and we'd be all good. The problem is, even with these fins, you can't control it at all. It's virtually uncontrollable. So I don't know if this is going to work or not. It probably won't, but again, it's still fun to learn along the way and to build things that actually don't go right, and then you have to go back and figure it out. And the actual building aspect of it is quite good as well. You have to sort of, for example, okay, well, going to be a nighttime launch, but why not? I've got an absolute ton of rockets underneath there that are absolutely going for it, and you can see they're all solid rocket boosters on the side here. Literally, they're all expending all their energy. So I'm getting what should get a fairly decent speed. Here we go. I'm already starting to push through the atmosphere a little bit. Not ideal doing it at night. I don't actually like launching at night because it's harder to see the planet beneath you when you get up higher. But we'll see. I'm gonna see if it allows me to put on the grade. I don't think it can actually move though. I think the fins are not. The fins don't do a massive amount. Now these rocket boosters on the side here are gonna run out like that. I don't think I can jettison yet, because I think it will jettison the ones that are still going, because I didn't really build this very well. So we're still getting up some height. Again, the atmosphere meter is still showing that we're going up. Hopefully when these last ones run out, which will be... and I'll slow down. Ah, that didn't quite go as planned. And now I've got another bit of debris. That one's just flown away. Look at that, it's just literally gone. You can see the little thing here where it's like, that's the top bit of it. That was supposed to be the command capsule. In fact, there was supposed to be a spaceman in there, so he might have just gone floating out into space forever. This thing I can't control because it's annoying that it's during the night because you can't actually see the planet beneath. But yeah, I don't think I can really control this much at all because the fins don't really do anything. So that's just floating into space, and you can see, I mean, that's cooling down now, but those the rocket boosters that were all red with heat, that's all you can really see of it. Oh look, you can see I like that as well, that's cool. Just see the dawn. But yeah, that's just going to spin forever now. And in fact, it'll probably crash back down if we have a look at the can't do it. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Oh, it's because it's out of control. I can't do anything with it. The pitch and rolls aren't working because it's just not, there's nothing to control it with. The actual control part of the spacecraft was in that pod that just flew off. So yeah, that will just float around forever until, well, unless it falls back to Earth. It probably will fall back down eventually. But that is why you've got to sort of build the things properly. It's also got this cool feature on it, a revert flight, so I can literally revert it back to the the launch pad, so I can launch again and try something different. Or if I know that there's a fault with the actual build of the aircraft, of the spacecraft, I can go back to the I can recover the vessel back to the building site thing, which I don't know if this works from here or not, I'm not sure. But the actual manufacturing hangar. Oh, there you go. Oh, because I recovered it, he's actually still here, which is nice. Otherwise, he'd be just floating off into space forever. There's 3 modes in this game as well. It's probably worth mentioning. You've got the sandbox mode, which is what I'm currently playing, which is what I play the most because you just have you have unlimited resources, unlimited funds. You can just build whatever you want and fly it and do all kinds of stuff. I think there's a scenario mode, so it gives you various scenarios to either try and achieve things or try and presumably survive. There'll probably be scenario. I haven't even looked at it. I haven't even played that mode yet, but I think there'll be scenarios like you've managed to launch and get your spacecraft on track to get to the moon, and then you have to orbit it and land there, or something like that. Or maybe there's like an Apollo 13 type thing where you're losing oxygen and you've got to fix it or something. I'm not sure. But in all the modes, this is your kind of your main hub. And then obviously the third mode is the career mode, where you start with a small base and you have to kind of build. You have to gain resources by doing missions for contractors, or be contractors for people, and then but they'll be like, oh, can you launch this satellite into space and get a certain amount of data or whatever. So you have smaller objectives to work towards, and then you build up your money, build up your kind of your science thing, and then you build your base to the point where it gets basically the full size, which is this, which looks fun. I've started playing it, but again, you put a lot of time into it, and it will help you learn the game as you go through, I'm sure. There's also a really good and quite thorough looking set of tutorial missions, which I did a couple of them just to have a look, and they're pretty good actually. They'll teach you everything from how to build like a spacecraft to actually launching it, flying it, orbiting, and then all the rest of the stuff you want to do, like flying to other planets and landing and doing all the science stuff and everything else. So that looks really good and really helpful. But like I said, I like doing stuff on my own, so I'm kind of just playing around with this at the moment. A lot of these parts of the base are more useful for the career mode. So, for example, the astronaut complex here, you obviously sort of train astronauts, or whatever, and you can run out of them, I presume. But in the sandbox mode, you just seem to get them. Don't know what the point of the flag is, because you can put different flags on there. It's cool that it's got a NASA flag and various other fake things, but yeah, just the 5.5 flag. Launch pads, self-explanatory. Runways for the aircraft stuff. You've got space plane hangar, so that's more to do with building shuttles and things like that. And you can actually fly and land back on the runway as well. So if you want to recover, if you want to build a shuttle that will basically, like an actual space shuttle, or a replica of, um, then you can do that. I've seen people that have built exact replicas of space shuttles. I've seen people that built exact replicas of like the Falcon Heavy and things like that. Not exact, but like as close as you can get. And they can make it behave in that way and everything. So it's really cool. You can do a lot of stuff with this game. The tracking station is like obviously shows all the stuff that's in the system that you can track and look at any time. And then the vehicle assembly building is the main thing where you build the spaceship. So that's it really. Oh yeah, I got my stupid thing back. Whoops. Oh yeah, there's all kinds of extra details in here as well. The action groups thing is quite in depth as well. I'm not even going to go into it, but it's basically you can assign multiple actions to a certain trigger. So the example that I would use is the one that they showed me in the tutorial that I saw, where you can have a mission abort trigger. So you can have, I think it's like, let's say you had 4 engines on your spaceship. It would and if you have a problem during the launch, you can program a trigger to say, first of all, cut all 4 engines, there, like cut the fuel lines or whatever, then jettison the actual capsule with the little guy in it, and then activate the parachute. And it's just like a big red stop button kind of thing. You assign all the different groups you want to it. You have one button to activate it, and then you press the button, and it all kind of happens at once. But there's loads you can do it. I mean, obviously there's the abort one, which is what I was talking about, having deployed brakes. I mean, there's so much stuff on here that you can do. I mean, even if you went onto one of these, I don't even know if I can't remember how to do it actually. I can't remember how to do it, to be fair. But yeah, you can create all kinds of crazy things on there, which is again good because you've got the amount of in-depth stuff, and you've also got these here as well. No, not here. I can't remember where it is. There's an extra like tab that comes out here that shows you all kinds of other stuff. This is the staging area where you can change the staging of all the different stages of the boosters and stuff as and when they when you want them to fire and or whatever. And also, I think that's probably some sort of user guide, dictionary, help thing or whatever. That'll probably be quite useful. This shows you all the controls, and this one's really good. This is the engineer report. So this shows you okay, so this shows you all the things that are potentially wrong with the rocket. So if you need to, for example, here, I didn't even realise they were on there. Actually, I probably ignored them before. But it'll give you a whole list of things that you need to basically fix on your rocket before it will fly properly. Otherwise, you can still fly it, but it'll just blow up or won't sort of operate properly or whatever. So that's it really. There's a lot of cool stuff, and I can spend hours just building a rocket, which I'm probably going to start doing now, but there's no point in me chatting through it. So as you can see, for example, you can build what's going to look like a shuttle. You can add various bits to it. You can have nose cones, you can have different things, you can have these command pods that are more like traditional kind of Saturn V type looking things. You can build all kinds of stuff. So I'm just going to have a play, probably build some stuff. There's so much more to this game as well. For example, electrical stuff. You need to have some, like, if you've got anything on your aircraft that needs electricity, you have to have some way of generating electricity, whether that's by solar energy or batteries or like an electrical generator. You need to have something on there. Similarly with the thermal stuff, obviously you need the right amount of shielding if your thing is coming back into the atmosphere, whatever it's coming, if anything's going back. You need something that will resist the heat, because as you come back in, the heat gets really intense and it can destroy your aircraft. If you've built in like anything that obviously is going to need to come back, you can build something with landing gear. These ones are currently blacked out, but they will all become available once I get the right parts in. But again, you can have feet landing struts if you've got like a lunar lander or anything like that. The aerodynamics is loads of this: nose cones, tail cones, fins, wings, literally everything. They've got even like things like this, like intakes. They've got nacelles, they've got winglets and canards, and they've even got a thing somewhere, I can't remember where it is. There's like a big tail section that can open up as like that's not it, is it? That you can that opens up like a cargo aircraft at the back, and so you can put stuff in there presumably. I mean, I haven't really explored this that much yet, but yeah, all kinds of stuff on that. I don't even know what's in some of this utility stuff. I don't even know what it is, like different crew cabins and ladders and things like that, but I haven't even gone to much detail about this stuff yet. This is where the parachutes are, but apart from that, communication satellites, this is how you send stuff back to Earth, or if you need, or even if it's like telecommunications. Payload, this is the payload protective shells I was talking about earlier. So these are the ones that explode, or you can jettison them when you're out of atmosphere. And again, for each part, you get this extra information tab that gives you even more information on stuff. So it will tell you what the mass is, how big it is, how heavy it is, and you can work out from that if you need it or not, or if you're able to use it. Some of these things, like this cargo bay, is deceptively large. It doesn't look big, but it is actually huge when you sort of get it out. Oh, that's the tailplane section I was talking about. That's the cargo ramp section. So yeah, there's all kinds of stuff that you can do. Coupling as well, that's just how it allows you to decouple different stages of the rockets. So you can decouple solid rocket boosters or actual engine stages, or even you can decouple sort of command pods from the rest of the aircraft, or whatever you want. And these things as well, this helps you dock onto other aircraft or other spacecraft when you're up in the atmosphere, out of the atmosphere. Structural stuff, again, is just stuff that you can use to build spacecraft with. There's so many different things on there. Literally, the options are literally virtually endless. Engines is obviously a big one. You need this houses all of the monopropellant engines, as well as the solid fuel rocket boosters, and the normal engines, atmospheric engines, as well as I think it's got some of the jet engines and turbofans and stuff in here as well. So if you're building something that's going to fly within the atmosphere, you can still use them. Different fuel tanks, obviously there's different types of fuel in the game that you need to use, so these different shapes, sizes and amounts. But again, with everything, you can see how much it will actually hold, but you can also change it. So you can have, if you don't need a lot, you can have it sort of further down, and that will help because it means it's lighter, so you don't have to carry it so much. But you might not need, you might want it to fit the spacecraft, but you don't need all that monopropellant in there. Although typically you'll probably use it all anyway. And then finally the command and control pods, which is where your astronauts go. Or you've got like the artificial intelligence ones. So these ones, this is like an unmanned remote pilot type thing, and there's quite a few of them on there as well. So you don't actually have to have a pilot in your spacecraft. If you just want it to be like a satellite or something, you can just use them. But similarly, you can have a command pod and have the different ones have different amounts of people in them. So I think that the normal command pods carry 2. Oh no, the crew capacity 1 there, it actually says. Crew capacity 3 of that one. That one's crew capacity of 1. Some of them are quite big, I think. 2, 4. So yeah. And that's all I'm going to do for now for talking wise. I'm probably just going to do a little build of something, mess around. But I'll stop talking and you can just watch if you can be bothered. See what I'm about to do, and no guarantee this will work or that it will fly, because half the rockets you build first time they just blow up in the air or you crash or something unless you do everything right. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think I'm going to go for like another orbital satellite type thing for now, just to see if I can build something that works. That works as a science gathering vessel, and see what I can do about it. I have no idea how long this is going to take, or even if I'll be able to finish it, because I spent hours and hours and hours building a spacecraft on here. But because it's so in depth and sort of such a technical game, which is why I love it as well. You can really get your teeth into it. So I am going to start off with. Yeah, I'm going to have to figure out what shape and size and everything I want. So I'll get on and do that. And I'll stop talking for a bit. Creamy. Oh. Creamy. What's up? Sweet. I've been on for, yeah, I don't know how long I've been on for. A while. Da, 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 da. Slow down. There we go. Just about to try and launch this rocket that I made, see if it's any good. It probably isn't. It'll probably just blow up. But whatever. Whoa. Okie dokie. That's weird. Why does it want to do that? That doesn't look good at all. Surely it should be going into a... I'll go ahead and turn it. Whoa! Oh my god! Oh! Were you playing Siege? Ain't got enough fuel to go. Oh, I forgot to put rocket boosters on it as well. Ah, bollocks. Oh well, this is a failure already. Holy shit, what's going on? It didn't work. Oh, I've messed this up bad. Okay, well let's oh. So that I'll still extend all the shit. If I can do it. Extend. Yes. Hey, did it go? Did it just... Grim, don't leave me. Oh, just fucking around on this. But, nothing, really. Like, do you want to... Are you playing Siege, or...? Look at the fucking nozzle on that thing! Okay, I can play Siege with you. I was just trying to build a spacecraft to go in... to orbit the planet, and, I nearly did it, but I kind of fucked it up. Something to work on for next time, anyway. Something to build on. Anyway. I'll just save game anyway, just, yeah, why not? Okie doke. No, wrong button.